The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, and welcome to Building Your Digital Brand webinar. My name is Katie Stovall, and I will be your technical producer and moderator this evening. This webinar is being presented by Kathy Mace. Before we get started on the presentation, let's take a moment to ensure that everyone is ready and familiar with the webinar control panel. On the right side of your screen, you will see the attendee control panel, and on the left is the webinar viewer window. This viewer window will display the presenter screen when the webinar begins. The control panel can be minimized or expanded by clicking on the horizontal double arrow button in the upper left corner. Minimizing the panel allows for a better view of the presentation. There are a few other features of the control panel that you should probably know about. First, be familiar with the Raise Your Hand button. This button is located along the left side of the control panel. It allows you to virtually raise your hand if you have a question or you want to respond to a question being asked. Click it now for practice. Clicking again will lower your hand. Another important feature of the control panel is the questions pane. To submit a question, type it into the question box. These may be questions related to the presentation or technical questions related to the GoToWebinar system. You may also be asked by the presenter to type in your ideas or responses here as a part of an exercise during the webinar. During the webinar, you may be asked to respond to a polling question or survey. Please take the time to participate as your input and ideas are valuable to the group. Be sure to stay attentive and interact as much as possible during the webinar. The quality of your experience depends on your attention and participation. Try to avoid the distractions of responding to email, checking Facebook, instant messaging, or following what's going on in the election this evening. If you need to step away for a moment, do not close the GoToWebinar window, as you will be required to log in again if you wish to rejoin the session. If you experience any problems with the audio, one possible solution is to use the conference call number and listen to the presentation using your phone. Click the Use Telephone option in the audio pane of your control panel to view the conference call number. I am recording this webinar, and the online archive will be available on the CAPA website in probably about 2 weeks. At that point, I'm going to go ahead and hand things over to you, Kathy, to get started.
Thanks, Katie. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Building Your Digital Brand. Thank you for taking the time out today to join me, especially since it's Election Day. Yay! So we're going to get started here. There we go. So that's me. I'm Kathy. I am the Content Marketing Specialist for Kappa Kappa Gamma. So all those wonderful emails you get and campaigns that are run, those are done by me. So we're going to start off with just the basics of what is personal branding. So personal branding is a feeling. It's your reputation and will determine what someone will expect of you. So think of it as kind of your reputation, your personality, except more of your professional and front-facing. So everyone has a personal brand. Everything you've ever posted, liked, tweeted, tagged, it's all part of your current brand. So when you like a bunch of cat videos, that's part of your personal brand, and that's what people see from you, and that's what they kind of expect from you. And so it's really important to be cognizant of what you are doing, not just online, but even Googling your name and finding out what comes up about you out there. Unfortunately, the internet is forever. It never, nothing ever goes away. So it's always really important to be really cognizant of what your brand is and to be aware that right now, every single person in here has one. So what does your current brand say about you? You got to ask yourself, how will someone feel if they hire you? Will someone look at your brand and feel you are trustworthy or responsible? Are you putting your best foot forward? And most importantly, does your current brand reflect where you want to be in your career? And if it doesn't, if someone feels that you would be untrustworthy, that's really a very critical thing that could be affecting you either with a promotion or even getting a new job, anything like that, or even making connections. So as of this year, 60% of employers revealed that they use social networking sites to research job candidates. For me, it's not as surprising. I actually think it's a little bit low, but Career Builder does an annual report where they ask hiring managers what they're looking for. And the top content that turned them off was either provocative or inappropriate photographs, videos, or information. It's about almost half. Information about the candidate drinking or using drugs, discriminatory comments related to race, religion, gender, etc., candidates bad-mouthing their previous company or fellow employee, and poor communication skills are all things that employers have seen with people's personal branding. They've seen it on their social media channels, or they've seen it on their personal website or on their blog, and these are all things that can really affect your career and where you really want to be. So what now? It's never too late to change where your personal brand is headed. It gives you the opportunity to say, where do I want to be in the next 5, 10 years? The process of personal branding is simple, but it doesn't mean that it's easy. So we're going to walk through kind of the steps on how you can improve your personal brand to put your best foot forward. So the first step, clean it up. Take a long, hard look at all your social media accounts and even Google yourself, which I actually recommend you do quite frequently because you never know what could pop up down the road. So are you happy with the image that you're putting out there? If not, clean it up. And with privacy settings, you can usually manage what only your friends see versus the public, but just remember the settings when you add your boss on Facebook. I don't think you want them seeing all your party photos from New Year's Eve. Another one, which is probably one of the harder ones, is who are you? Personal branding is all about that authenticity, and it's all about being true to yourself. So who are you? What do you value? Who inspires you? What are you passionate about? One of the most important things I've learned is that people want to do business with people. They don't trust anyone who is putting on a facade. So your personal brand is what you put out there, is what people are going to expect from you, and creating a fake persona will only hurt you in the long run. You definitely don't want to be pretending that you are a very serious person if you like to crack jokes. It's really about being true to who you are, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't have fun with your brand. It just means that that's what your brand is, because that's who you are. Audit your reputation. So ask people around you, ask your coworkers and your friends, what are you known as? Are you known as the office mom, someone who always makes sure that, the coffee is refilled and, everyone you help clean up after parties? Or are you known as the crazy party girl? And think of the actions that you're doing to get that reputation. And if it's a reputation that you're not necessarily happy about, you need to look into how to change your behaviors and how to fix that so that you can really get where you want to be in the next 5 years. There's a story I read from a presenter that she was always known as the office mom, and she had been passed up for several promotions because of it, because people just felt like, oh, she doesn't want to move up in the company. She's happy where she's at. And while it's a negative and untrue perception of the girl, it was a reality that, unfortunately, how people see you is they're going to judge you for it. So think about what you're doing, what kind of reputations you have, and how you can go about to fix those, if you don't like them, of course. Next is to make your plan. I did include a handout, as making your plan isn't as simple as one slide. It's a very detailed personal branding workbook I found that really delves into an amazing level of detail regarding how to go about making your plan. It asks a lot of really tough questions that you're really going to have to dig down and think about so that you can get the best brand forward, something that feels authentic and truly you. So some of the basics are, writing down your strengths and your weaknesses, what you value, what you're passionate about, and define your purpose. So your purpose is what you would like to achieve and where you see yourself in the future, what your goal is. Knowing your purpose, your values, your passions, it's going to help you take the appropriate actions to reach your ideal destination. If you're wanting to be CEO of a company in the next 10 years, then maybe those promotions that come up are more strategically planned for where you really want to be. Next is to build your online presence. And once you have your purpose and once you have your plan laid out, it's really time to start building your online presence. So a really good place to start is a personal website. It's going to give you a lot more control over your brand than social media. Not that social media isn't important, and we'll get into those later, but a website allows you to kind of have that solid, almost home base for you and your brand. And so there's a lot of sites out there that are really simple. One that I use for my own website is Wix, and it is so easy to use, and they create beautiful websites that can really help you launch your brand. And even when you're thinking of designing your personal website, think of what your personality is. If you love bright colors, include that in your site. You don't want it to seem something that isn't truly you. Next is to find your audience. So to market yourself appropriately, you need to determine who your target audience is. It's going to be people who will find what you want to talk about relevant and compelling, but it's not just that. It's also people who you click with, people who you find you have the easiest time working with. And when it comes to searching for another job, it might not be people in your immediate circle. This could also be people at a company that you are interested in, and you need to put yourself in the best light for that audience. And how do you make yourself intriguing for that audience? So it's really getting down into what those people are, what their personalities are, and hopefully if you've done this right, they'd be very close to your own personality and your own brand. So figuring out what appeals to them. One thing I definitely recommend doing, especially if you're looking for a certain type of job, is to look for influencers in that field. What are the buzzwords surrounding them? What kind of things do they talk about? And kind of, use them as inspiration for your own personal brand, obviously with your own twist. Next is creating your elevator pitch. So we all kind of know what an elevator pitch is. It's this little, sometimes less than 60-second pitch about who you are, what you do, and why you do it. When you're networking, you're going to want a solid elevator pitch. You're going to want people to know who you are and what you do, not so much where they're left with no questions because you've explained it to death, but also not so little that they don't know what you do at all. If you're a realtor, you don't want to say, well, I show houses and clients come to me and I help them pick out a house, but you also don't want to say, I help people fulfill their dreams by helping them finance. And you want to be right in that sweet spot of leaving enough room for intrigue, yet not so vague where they don't even care to ask you more questions. A very important thing is elevator pitches are not a memorized thing. You should have several different versions of it and be able to kind of just have those key talking points that you want to get across, but be able to adapt your elevator pitch to the specific situation you're in. This isn't going to be something that you're going to have written on a note card and you're going to pull that note card out and tell the person that you want to connect with exactly what's on that card. So it's a conversation starter, not the whole conversation. And it's tricky. Everyone continuously works to improve upon their elevator pitch. It will never be perfect, but as long as you are being true to who you are and you're excited and you're passionate, those are all things that are really great for elevator pitches. Next is networking. As Kappas, we know all about networking. It's part of our sisterhood. Remember how I said people want to do business with people? Networking is the key to that. They don't want to be used for their relationship, though. You can't just connect with somebody because you want them to get you a job. This has to be a mutually beneficial relationship. So be a resource for them as well, and don't just focus on what you need. So if you have a relationship with somebody and a connection in a field, you know, talk to them about what you're doing in your job, and they'll share what they're doing in their job. And as relationships and careers and experiences change, a connection that you may have felt was not that great in the beginning could really develop into something wonderful down the road. And it's not just keeping in touch with them for one time, it's a continual connection that you have to keep with people. So even if it's just a little hello here and there and asking people how they're doing, those are really important. No one wants to feel like you use them to get ahead in your position without reciprocating the relationship in some way. And most importantly, be authentic. I keep saying it, but it's truly the most important thing when it comes to personal branding. If you show that you're human, show that you have hopes and dreams and you have goals, people are going to want to help you if they can relate to you. And everyone has hopes and dreams and goals. And last, you have to keep learning. Nothing remains the same forever. For Kappa, I do a lot of work on social media, and it is evolving every single day. Every day some new tool comes out, or settings change, or there's new features you can use. So you can never know enough. And the same holds true for your personal brand. You have to keep evolving and keep trying new things and learning new skills. Not only is it going to help you keep up in the ever-changing job market, but it's going to help you be a thought leader in your field. If you don't keep up with the latest trends and you don't work at improving your job position, then you've wasted all this time building an excellent brand, because you're going to become out of touch and people aren't going to find that relationship as valuable anymore. So always keep learning. Can never know enough. So when it comes to social media and your brand, I think we all know that social media can be a very tricky beast. Yes?
We have a couple questions regarding kind of the last section that you did. I was wondering if you wanted to answer those before we moved on.
Oh yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Liz was asking what the second step was. I think she just must have missed it as you were going.
It's the who you are step. So figuring out who you are and what you value, what really inspires you, and kind of figuring out how you want to present yourself authentically to other people through your brand.
Great. We also had one question about the website service that you had mentioned. I think you mentioned Wix.
Yes.
And that's W-I-X, correct?
It is W-I-X. You can get a free account through them. It will have Wix in your URL, but you can also pay through services like GoDaddy and such to create your own personal URL. And I think Wix now has it where you can purchase your own URL through them. but they have a lot of wonderful free templates. And honestly, it's one of the easiest things to do. If you can use the internet, you can use Wix. That's the lovely part of it.
It's a great service. I've played around with it as well.
The Women Who Kappa site that we built was all done through Wix.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's all the questions I have at the moment, so we can keep going.
Okay, awesome. Move on to the social media do's and don'ts. So as I was saying, social media is a tricky beast. It is by no means, no one has a perfect social media presence because unfortunately nothing ever goes away. You can delete things and you can hope that eventually they'll fade into the background, but they can always be dug up. So one of the most important things, again, is keeping it authentic. So the same rule of your personal brand matters in social media too. If it doesn't fit your personal brand, don't write it, don't post it, don't share it, don't comment on it, leave it be. If your brand is more reserved, you're not going to want to be overly chatty online because people are going to expect that when they meet you in person, you're going to be overly chatty. And if that's something you're uncomfortable with, you set yourself into a very sticky situation where you're going to have to step out of your comfort zone. On the other hand, if your brand is approachable and chatty, you know, a casual tone may work better for you. One thing to think about is like, how would you interact with somebody in person? That's how you're going to want to reflect that online. You wouldn't say mean things about somebody to somebody's face, hopefully not. So don't do that online. The tone and the images that you put up are either going to help reinforce your brand or they're going to create brand confusion. So you have to be really clear about who you are in order to keep your social media and online presence really crisp and clear so everyone gets it. Another important thing is to pay attention and engage. If somebody writes to you, don't ignore them. You wouldn't ignore somebody on the street if they asked you how you were, so don't do it online either. If someone engages with you, reply. You can have an opinion and show what you're passionate about, and how you engage and respond to others will reinforce your brand, so be mindful of that. We all kind of fall into that pit where, you know, somebody could be an internet troll. They're just trying to get a rise out of you, and that's one where you're just going to have to step back and kill them with kindness. Unless, of course, you want your brand to be brash and harsh and out there. I don't think many people would. It's a very specific kind of a brand, but it's really mindful to be of how you treat other people, because that what they see on social media is what they're going to expect to see in person. So if you are always calm, cool, and collected online, you have to be calm, cool, and collected in person. And remember that social media is public. It's incredibly public. Things you say or do online, they just don't vanish. And the point of social media is to showcase your personality, so what you're passionate about, what you're interested in. And I will say that privacy settings, while they help, they are not foolproof. If you think someone won't see something you wrote, trust me, they will. They will find it one way or another. There are screenshots. I mean, you see it all the time with celebrities who will write something awful and, you know, regret that decision, but by the time they've decided that they don't want to put that out there, it's already been screenshotted and shared hundreds of times. So it's best to keep your social media professional and stick to your brand. I know some people have separated out personal accounts, which will be locked down to only friends, and then they have a professional forward-facing account. If that works best for you, then go for it. There are plenty of professional brand style pages out there where you know, someone definitely has their own family account where they share photos of their dog or their kids, but on their professional account they keep it to posting about what they're passionate about. So maybe they're passionate about social media and they share articles and they engage with their public on that. So that's always an option if you are concerned about losing that kind of personal side of social media. Another thing is to keep focused on your target audience. So you've spent a lot of time figuring out your target audience and who they are. So it's really important that you go where that audience is. If you're trying to talk to business leaders, most likely they're on LinkedIn. If you're looking for more creative types, maybe it's Instagram, maybe it's Snapchat, maybe it's Tumblr. Those channels will probably work best for you. So cater your online presence to where your audience is, not where you want them to be. You constantly have to kind of pay attention to who you're trying to communicate, what you're trying to communicate, and how you're trying to communicate it. So if you're trying to share thought leader type articles, you're trying to share things that are about your field, who are the people you want to see that information? Is it people you want to hire you? Is it people you want to connect with and start a conversation with? Do you want to share something you've written with business leaders that they'll share it as well? So you really need to kind of drill down what you want to communicate and who you want to communicate to so that you can choose the right channel for that. And all of us need to understand the importance of branding. We are CEOs of our own companies, me incorporated. To be in business today, our most important job is to be head marketer for the brand called you. I love this quote. It was said by Tom Peters in a Fast Company article. If you think about your personal brand as your own company, and who better to manage how you appear to everyone else except for you? You know you best, and if you can control what's out there about you and you can build yourself to be what you want to be, then going for your own goals, everything is going to be a lot easier. And it's really just important to think of yourself as your own boss in personal branding. You know, this is something where you get to choose what you do and when you do it and how you do it, and it's so personal and really unique to each individual person that this is an opportunity to showcase that to everyone. That is what I have today for our presentation. Do we have any other questions, Katie?
I don't right now. If anyone does have one, feel free to sneak them in there real fast. We're happy to answer them. Definitely not a rush for the evening, so put us to work.
Yes, I made it a pretty short presentation because if I went into what the handout that I sent you guys went into, we would be here for 3 days.
So there is a question here. They're curious, Kathy, if you do any one-on-one consulting with any other CAPAs or up to it.
I don't right now. Most of my consulting is really with other alumni association presidents who want to start their social media journey or chapters, but I am more than willing to talk to anybody personally one-on-one and kind of help you. You can reach out to me with my personal email. I'll type it here in the chat. It's nice and easy. It's kathy.c.mace@gmail.com. I got to change this to the audience so you guys can see this.
I don't think we can see your chat window, but if you send it, we can see it. There you go. I see it now.
It just says organizers and panelists. If you can't see it,
I'll send it out.
Yeah, we can send it out to you. But yeah, I'm completely open to helping and working with anybody one-on-one, so I'm always available. This is my passion. I like talking about social media and branding.
All right, I'm hitting send, so this goes out to everyone so that you have Patty's email. It's in the chat pane if you're looking for it. All right, everyone, I don't have any additional questions coming in, so feel free to reach out to Kathy if you have anything either specific to a situation you are in or just want to know some additional thoughts. I want to thank you all for joining us this evening. I'm really glad you took a few moments out of your life to learn some more about this. I'm sure everyone wants to rush back to the most delightful election coverage ever.
Right?
Right? It's going to be an exciting evening. As you close, there'll probably be a webinar that pops up. Please take a moment to fill it out. It really shapes our future training events and webinars that we host. Thank you, Kathy, for putting this on this evening. It was really informative. I learned a lot as well. Thank you all again. Have a great night.
Thanks, everyone.